Oh, where have the good vibes and clean slate seasons gone? Just a few days ago, we were rolling in Pats Nation, my Foxborough faithful and Patriots pals. DeAndre Hopkins came to town. Minicamp was going so well, they even canceled the final day. Breakout players galore on both sides of the ball. When things were as bright as, if you're watching right now on YouTube, my seaside backdrop as I come to you from the shores of old Cape Cod. And instead now, why, the horizon is as dark as the underside of the Batwing. Can you tell I just saw the flash yesterday? That's how quickly things can turn in Pats Nation and in the football news cycle these days. Hello, everybody. How are you? Your old pals Nick Fitzy Stevens and Mike Cadlick, our new beat writer extraordinaire at WEI for the New England Patriots. And this is the latest and, might I say, always greatest edition of Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you by your friends at WEI, Odyssey, and 2400 Sports. Just a couple things to touch on today. We'll give you the latest on Jack Jones. We will now address in a bit of a roster reset between minicamp and training camp, which will open in about just over a month's time. What is the new position of greatest need for the New England Patriots? And then a funny story about he who soyed Fiesta to wrap things up. Mike, as we record today, my man, it is a lovely Tuesday morning. I believe this is the final day of spring. And just an update from an hour ago from Dove from, let's see, this came from K Sullivan News. Here we go. And Dove Kleeman aggregated it because that's how he do.
Yeah.
Here we go. This was Kelly Sullivan from Fox 25. Jack Jones, Patriots cornerback Jack Jones, arrived 1 hour ago, 9 a.m. Eastern, at East Boston District Court to be arraigned on several gun-related charges. He is accused of having 2 loaded firearms in his carry-on bags at Logan Airport. To further,
so we have even. Sorry, I'll cut you off.
So that's where we are. No, go right ahead, my man.
Yeah, we have an even sooner update here, basically live on the Six Rings and Football Things podcast. Jack Jones is due back in court once again on August 18th for a probable cause hearing.
How's that going to affect his ability to play in preseason game number 2? I think that is actually the one against the Titans.
Great question. Yeah. So
I'm sure Bill's going to be completely cool with that. Like, no big deal. Go ahead. Yeah, go right.
Yeah. So it sounds like the arraignment is over. Back in court, probable cause hearing August 18th, was released on $30,000 bail. So it sounds like it's still more so a waiting game, but officially arraigned and due back in court once again in just under 2 months' time. So no bueno for Jack Jones and the Patriots.
Yeah.
I wonder how long he lasts. I really do.
Isn't that now one of the big questions? Like, look, you can like, I've heard everything from this has got to carry in the state of Massachusetts a sentence of a mandatory 1 year. You can have people like henceforth, we'll go back to the Captain Aggregation, Dove Kleeman, saying like Jones could be facing over 30 years in prison per the D's up. Look, the dude is not going to face, rather, he's not going to go to prison for 30 years.
Right.
But you can't help but wonder, is he going to actually have to serve hard time? Is he going to be, before the New England Patriots could even possibly make a move as to his roster status, will the local or federal law system, like, basically, is he going to be removed by the law? Like,
right.
Will the state or the feds basically say, like, don't worry, Bill, don't worry, Matt, don't worry, Robert, we'll take care of this for you. This guy can't play football because he could potentially be serving prison time. It's such a bad, it is so frustrating on so many levels. And I know it has been the topic du jour, like it happened Friday night. We discussed it over the weekend. Every single show across the dial was talking about it. It was the topic on Monday's show. Like, no one's really interested in the possible collusion in the NBA with the Bradley Beal deal out to the Suns. The Red Sox swept the Yankees. There seemed to be like turning it around with a broken, beat up discount Ocean State job lots part roster, and they're winning baseball games. And Bruce Cassidy is going to troll the entirety of Boston sports and New England sports nation by bringing the friggin' Stanley Cup down the street from my house on the Cape.
Yep.
And no one is concerned about anything except this Jack Jones. We're teetering on, Mike. I think we're not quite at saga yet. I think like Aaron Hernandez, tragically so, became a saga. This to me right now is still a fiasco. Now, what what our local and federal law authorities choose to do with this and what the New England Patriots do with it and how this plays out. It could amplify. It could also just get cut short in the bud. Do we have any other details? And I don't want us to get into speculation nation on what we think is going to happen. But if you had to put your 2 cents in on what you think, how you think this will play out in Foxborough, go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting, and like the way you said it, right? Because the next step is the second hearing, which is
Mm-hmm.
2 months from now, and then at that point, the legal system kind of can take. It can be really fast, or it can be as long and drawn out as they really want it
Mm-hmm.
to. So like this could go on for another year or two, as far as like arraignments and sentencings and trials and things like that. So I mean, if he's out on bail and just waiting, he could just stay on the team and play in theory.
Yep.
But then you talk about commissioner's exempt list, which would likely come into play. And I'm reading from Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald, who
Yep.
says,
Who's done an awesome job, by the way. He
yeah,
joined us over the weekend. In case you missed that, he had a first update. He joined the Fitzy and Cadlick program on Saturday with a great
yep,
update as well. And he's done as he usually does. Now that he is the primary Patriots insider for the Boston Herald, with Karen Guregian's departure to Mass Live, Andrew has done a great job. He has a piece out now. Will Patriots cornerback Jack Jones go to prison? Here's what we know. Take it away.
yeah. So basically, what he says on that is it's far too early to tell. But according to experts, the odds are against Jones based on the information that's available. These charges carry mandatory minimum sentences, which are a significant obstacle. The likelihood of an indictment is another, and his prior record is also an issue. Asking if he'll ever play for the Patriots again, he says the NFL will essentially bide its time when deciding on a punishment, because they just sort of waited out and let the legal process happen first. It'll probably be several games. And if there is a waiting game, he could just end up on that commissioner's exempt list, which I mentioned before, which basically is a suspension list where you can't play. I believe you're paid, and you're just sort of in limbo until
It's
the
it's
legal.
exactly a limbo. I like to, since most roads tie back to pop culture, food, or
Yeah,
adult beverages with me, I call it a phantom zone. Basically,
yeah,
Goodell says you are cast off you are on the commissioner's exempt list. You're in the phantom zone. You will
right,
linger in this limbo until further notice. And that may be the easiest thing to do, because the NFL hasn't had to deal with too many concealed firearms, unlicensed firearms
right.
in a carry-on bag headed towards an airplane at an international airport incidents. Thank God. Recently, but they may have to figure out what the precedent is here. The last one that we could remember, of course, was the Quinnen Williams one from 3 years ago. He didn't serve any time. In fact, he was basically just let off with parole and a $250 fine. He didn't have the prior record that Jack Jones does.
I
He
think
didn't have
that's
the
a big
past.
deal. Yeah,
I think that you're right. I think that's going to be a big deal. I think the problem's going to be that they're going to look at his quote priors, if you will, and say,
right,
you've been here before, not to this particular court, but your bad judgment,
right.
your lack of judgment, your quote unquote forgetfulness, if you will, has caused.
Yeah, they it
We're not
can't
going
be
to look at
passed
your
off as an honest mistake, really,
no,
at this point.
honest mistake.
Right.
Yeah, like if an honest mistake is being 10 minutes late for dinner with a buddy because you forgot to set a reminder on
Right.
insert name of digital calendar or application here. An honest mistake is forgetting to change over your checking account number and having auto pay declined on a bill, even though that's
Right.
almost unacceptable in 2023. Seeing your friend's girlfriend for only the second time and accidentally calling her Jessica when her name is Marie, that's an honest mistake. Not bringing 2 loaded firearms with high capacity magazines in a carry-on bag to an airport for a cross-country flight. I'm sorry.
I'm with you.
It's just so far beyond the pale. It is
There's
so
no
far beyond.
OG, that's my bad here. Like it's just there's no excuse. Like it's just again, we talked about it for, however many hours we did on Saturday on WEEI. It's just that there are so many things you can get away with as an NFL football player, for
So
right
much,
or for
so
wrong.
much, so much.
One of them is not trying to get 2 loaded firearms with an extended magazine clip on an airplane. Like you can't do it. There's no you can't sit here and be like, oh, but like there's no buts here. It's just you just can't do it. So it's over. And I wonder how long, and if again, as we're sitting here recording this podcast at 10:20 a.m. on Tuesday, if in the next 10 minutes we see an alert that the Patriots just cut Jack Jones. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. The waiting game at this point, what they've been through with him, it feels like it may be too much for them at this point. Again, who knows? They could wait it out, but it wouldn't shock me at all if they just cut bait now either.
Yeah, only thing we've heard was the statement over the weekend, which was that they were aware of the charges and allegations as pertaining to Jack Jones and the Friday night incident at Logan Airport. They were gathering facts and they had no further comment at this time. I wouldn't be surprised as well, but at the same time, they may just let this play out. Now, you wonder if in the risk reward game there, I can't imagine it's going to be like, surprise, these were planted, or just like they're going to, let him off with a slap on the wrist and say like, okay, forgetful Freddie, don't let that happen again. Because there's been a number, like we said, a number of priors and a number of incidents professionally. I don't even think they're going to worry about him getting kicked out of school or, having an incident with Belichick regarding a disagreement in rehabilitation last year. It's more about, hey, yeah, you once were involved robbing Chinese American takeout restaurant. Like you've done dumb things before.
Right.
I wonder where the law may come down and say, like, someone's going to have to really slap you on the wrist and punish you to make sure that this gets through to you, or they're going to release him into the wild and say, hopefully maybe the Patriots can do it. But like, this is a matter to me, like, this is like parenting versus school. It's not a school's job to raise your kids and teach them discipline, good values, and ethics. That comes from home. It's not Bill Belichick and everybody inside the walls at One Patriot Place at Gillette Stadium. They can do everything they can to try to reform the man, to teach him what they want as an employee of theirs, to be a good human being. They can do everything that they want to try to help him, but it's not their job to completely mold and rebuild and teach every single value to this guy. Like, someone else is going to have to step in at some point and help this guy out. I don't know how much the Patriots want to take upon themselves while risking, of course, the bad press. And how much bad press, Mike, do you think the Patriots have gotten thus far? I haven't looked around social media or, sought out sources to hear like what the whispers are, like, oh, typical Patriots move, overstepping their bounds, grabbing another dirtbag or somebody else that flies in the face of justice or proper behavior. I haven't heard anything like that. But eventually you do wonder where Robert Kraft may have to step in and say, I want to help this young man. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, but we can't afford the risk of somebody bringing firearms onto an airplane to breach our threshold here at the New England Patriots.
Right. And I haven't seen much either as far as, the typical Patriots nonsense that you talk about. One thing I will add is that, and for what it's worth, he did plead not guilty.
Okay.
Again, you're not really
not guilty plea. Okay.
Yeah, not guilty plea. Again, a lot of times that's just like semantics with what your lawyer tells you to do.
That's
again,
standard
I'm not a law
issue,
expert,
probably. Yeah,
it's usually plead not guilty, and we'll work on it from there.
I'm not one. I've got plenty in the family. I haven't played one on TV in my short acting career. No.
Well, that's why we're reading from the Boston Herald, and we're not talking about it ourselves.
No,
so.
we are presenting as facts and then offering light commentary with no judgment ourselves as well. I would like to see this somehow resolve itself in a positive manner. I really enjoyed watching him play last year. Personally, I think some of the, as I like to call it, swagitude, the swag and the attitude that he brings to the field and to the team, I like it. I liked it. I enjoyed.
The player, he's awesome.
I enjoy his passion and the attitude. As a football player, just judging Jack Jones, wearing 13 on the field, playing cornerback, I like his style of play. Yeah. I enjoyed watching him. I was really looking forward to watching him this season. Now that is obviously in the balance, in question, and I think I can comfortably say kind of in doubt at this point. I was looking forward to seeing him opposite Gonzo and the other guys in a very promising New England Patriots 2023 secondary and defense. This creates a bit of an issue for the team, which is exactly what we are going to discuss in our next segment. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the Six Rings and Football Things podcast and making it a part of your regular Patriots news cycle and joining our twisted little community of Patriots news analysis, passion, perspective, and more. Give us a follow at Six Rings Pod if you get a chance. Rate, review, subscribe, and share. Feedback is always welcome at FitzyGFY and at Mike Cadlick. All right, so Jack Jones now entering a not guilty plea, being arraigned in court in East Boston on Tuesday, June 20th. His next hearing, as we mentioned earlier, August 18th. That's right before preseason game number 2, which is scheduled on August 19th. Is that the Titans game or the Packers game?
I believe it's the Packers game.
That's the Packers game.
It's
Okay,
Packers.
so that's going to affect his ability to participate in the joint practices that week against the Packers, and obviously play in that game. It's maybe I would imagine so. This affects his preseason. We don't even know if he'll be on the roster by that time. So let's just imagine that he is taken out of the equation until further notice, Mike. Before we maybe mention cornerback as a possible top position of need now on the Patriots, or top position of concern, before the Jack Jones incident, what would you have said was the biggest area of need or the top position to keep an eye on heading towards training camp?
Prior to cornerback, I would say it was a mix of offensive line and wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line, and again, I forget where, but I feel like I've said this a million times, and whether it was on Six Rings or whether it was on the radio with you or Dondero the weekend before.
Well, welcome to the wide world of where did I say that again? That's how we do at Odyssey Boston and WEI, my guy.
Yeah, so the offensive line situation last season felt like it was more so an issue of injury and depth and scheme than it was the actual players. And that's in my opinion, and I think that's in the Patriots' opinion as well, because the way they tackled it this offseason was add depth, grab a new offensive line coach, and basically run it back with everybody else you had last season alongside two veterans who can sort of play the swing, which it looks like they're running it back with Trent, Cole, Strange, Andrews, Owenu, and not Isaiah Wynn, but somebody else on the right side, whether it's Riley Reed for Calvin.
Oh, Mike's first official burn of the Six Rings podcast and his time with WEI. As long as the right tackle's name is not Isaiah Wynn, it's an upgrade. Look, Isaiah Wynn seemed like a perfectly nice person. Right. He had a bit of a character turn, a borderline heel turn. Anytime you yell at Mike Reese and you get angry at the nicest man in Boston sports media, you lose a large portion of your fan base and the audience. I'm sorry that it worked out that way. I hope his career takes a turn for the positive. I hope he stays healthy in Miami. Of course, I hope the Patriots beat him like a rag doll and treat him like a turnstile when they face him, should he be starting for the Dolphins this fall. We'll see how Keon White, Dietrich Wise, Matt Judon et al., and Josh Uche work out against Isaiah Wynn, should he make the Dolphins roster.
Right.
But the right tackle position, now see, I've said the idea of just throwing like a consortium of veterans and discount swings and whatever, Riley Reef, Calvin Anderson, Connor McDermott, second year, technically rookie, redshirt rookie, if you will, Andrew Stuba, throwing those guys there. I've referred to it as the hobo rumble. It's a total bum fight. Like, one guy's going to have to emerge. But while the Patriots seem content with the approach they took, I don't love it.
Well, that's what I thought they were doing was, and I thought they were content with it, and I was okay with it until I saw it in OTAs and minicamp. And then second
now how do you feel about it? Now how do you feel about it?
I don't feel great, and that's why it turns into my
not great, Bob.
It turns into my position of need now, because again, they were running 11 on 11s, not even with contact, and Mac Jones couldn't even get the ball off because Dietrich Wise and the likes were in his face. And again, it's non-padded practice, so it's basically just a touch and push, and let's just like pretend here and let the quarterback throw, and they couldn't even do that. So
oh my God.
A cluster, and I think it turns into a position of need now, and I don't really know where they turn, frankly.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is it rhymes with Fustercluck. I got you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I've fashioned that one out so that it's FM radio friendly, while at the same time conveying exactly how dire the situation may be. Look,
there you go.
I would still say, in light of now the priorities heading into the draft, of course, and you could arrange the three cards in this little Monty game, the three shells on the table, if you will.
Yep.
Everyone agreed universally the three positions of need were offensive tackle, wide receiver, and cornerback. They addressed cornerback directly when arguably the top, if not the second best cornerback in the draft, depending on how you felt about Devin Witherspoon, in the form of Christian Gonzalez, incredibly fell to them at 17, with the Washington Commanders taking Emmanuel Forbes, who I thought the Pats might go after in the second round. Right. His slight frame, but his ball hawking moves. I thought the Patriots would have maybe gone after him later. Gonzo falls to them at 17. An incredible pick. If you've seen footage, by the way, of Jackson Smith and Jigba absolutely cooking Devin Witherspoon at Seahawks practices, A, don't judge Witherspoon yet. He's a rookie. But B, right. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's going to be a ball player. That kid is going to be a handful. on a Seahawks team that I'm comfortable saying I think can go back to the playoffs and have a hell of an offense this season. I still don't think if Jack Jones is out, though, Mike, back to the point in hand, if we look right now, as of late June 2023, what is the Patriots' greatest position of need? What position are you most concerned about? It's still not cornerback for me.
No.
Like Christian Gonzalez will have his rookie bumps and issues. That's fine. But we see talent galore in this kid, and he may turn out to have a decent, a very good, and awesome rookie season. We'll see. John Jones gives you a lot of versatility. Marcus Jones is an excellent young slot cornerback. It'd be better if he were the secondary one and John Jones didn't have to flex outside. You do have the versatility with a guy like Jalen Mills. Miles Bryant, comment redacted. Yeah, okay, so it's not as deep as it was. Andy Hart called it a house of cards. That was his line for last year on the offensive line. I feel like the offensive tackle position is the biggest area of concern. I'm fine with the wide receiver room right now, fine-ish, if you will. Tackle's a problem. Can Trent Brown stay healthy? Is he going to be motivated all year? Does he want money? Is he going to bring contract year Trent Brown to the table? Is it going to be motivated, engaged Trent Brown, or is it going to be what is the latest cryptic tweet from Trent Brown mean kind of season? And then right tackle, like we said, just a total whoever is going to be decent enough to start this Sunday. Come on down. You're starting for the Patriots at tackle. I like the interior of the line, Mike. I don't like the tackle spot at all.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it'll still come down to, how they scheme it up and how much better of an offensive line coach Adrian Clem is than Matt Patricia, who's also trying to call an offense after never doing so before. But no, I think it also, you're right. It comes down to Trent Brown as well. How much can they rely on Trent on the left side so that they really only have to focus on the right side? And Dante Scarnecchia said it last week on the Greg Hill show. If you can get a motivated Trent Brown and get him on board, that's going to help them so much because you can just forget about the left side. Trent, you've got that locked down every Sunday. Thank you. And we'll focus on the right side. If you can't get Trent on board, then you're worried about, everything. And then again, it turns into the house of cards that we've talked about. So, yeah, but I agree on corner too. I'm not as concerned. Obviously, Jack Jones throws in a wrinkle, but it's more so like it just feels like a contingency plan now. When Jalen Mills moves back to safety where he's more comfortable, great, perfect. You re-sign John Jones, who can be this sort of
a flex corner, if you will.
Flex corner, 5-tool player, whatever kind of like.
He could play. He's played safety. He's played inside. He's played outside, and he's played all at least a decent, serviceable to not elite but very high professional level.
Right, and so now you sort of have to rely on him even more so instead of using him as like not a gadget guy, but a fill-in replacement. Right, you're gonna have to play him more, and then you're gonna have to rely on obviously Marcus Jones and even Miles Bryant. So like it's just sort of the trickle down that's unfortunate, but they still have talent there. And that's why I go to, again, offensive line as clearly the position need, because wide receiver too, they addressed it. They addressed it with Gesicki, who is a de facto wide receiver, and you might still have DeAndre Hopkins on the horizon. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with corner. It turns into offensive line now.
Yeah, for some reason, my confidence in DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Patriots to bolster their entire offense overall and the wide receiver room, it was still reasonably high over the weekend, but now it's waning a bit. I don't think he's playing the Patriots. I don't think he's using the Patriots as leverage. He's just doing as someone with an elite or still near elite level of skills would and should do when they're a free agent. He's gauging his market. Right. Somebody at a position of need close to training camp, as training camp begins, may say, whoa, hold on, this wide receiver room sucks. Or, hey, we do need to make another Super Bowl run. We do need an elite 1 or 2 wide receiver with veteran savvy and skills to come to the party as well. Or, oh, we were not expecting that season-ending injury by late July or early August. Hey, D-Hop, right, here's the check, you fill in the amount. Right. If the Patriots did that right off the top, then they probably could have prevented him from getting to market. But I imagine it wasn't necessarily a blank check situation when he had any sort of conversation with Bill Belichick last week. So
that's what now I'll add to that quickly with D-Hop and the potential options. Albert Breer mentioned this week, basically that the Chiefs are in the process of extending Chris Jones. And so if they do that, then
Here we
that'll free up some
go.
cap space this season, and then in turn can free them up for Hopkins. So if that happens, Hopkins would rather
Son
go there.
of
Similar money.
Ah!
Yeah. So I feel like that could be a part of Hopkins' waiting game as well, waiting for if they know behind the scenes we're going to lock up Chris Jones, etc. You know,
They lost Frank Clark. He went to Seattle.
Right.
No, he went to Denver. He stayed within division.
Yep.
He went to Denver. But they had got nice contributions from Karlaftis last year. Chris Jones is inarguably the most important player on their kind of underrated defense. They've drafted very well the last couple of years. If they add DeAndre Hopkins, forget it. Just, fast forward immediately to Chiefs versus blank in the AFC Championship. And I think a lot of us are already thinking about that as well. I'm sitting here right now podcasting with you. There is maybe just a faint wisp, if you will, of white clouds on the horizon. I'm sitting under sunny, beautiful blue skies. And yet this is how I felt last week. Now, Mike, for some reason, I'm starting to get some of those but I know the storm is coming vibes. I know it's only a matter of time. Like, what happened? Clean slate, good vibes. Everything was so good last week. James Robinson, he's not. It started there. And this is where we'll get to our quick running back discussion before our Gronk story and a wrap out here on Six Rings. But it starts James Robinson. He's not healthy enough to be the 2 and the 1-2 punch in the running back room and be Ramondre Light. He is released. I don't know if he's going to sign anywhere else. He still hasn't recovered from the injuries from 2021, which is what led the Jets to not tender him after they traded a 6th-round pick, I believe, for him in 2022.
Yep.
Then we get the Jack Jones saga. The tackle position doesn't look good. D-Hop visits town, doesn't leave with a deal. Not a great week. The Patriots definitely did not win last week at all, and I'm not feeling as good as I did 10 days prior. Now, to the running back room real quick. I whipped this up for .com on Monday. Yep. If the Patriots right now, they're currently set with Ramondre, the offense should run through him entirely, but he's your de facto starter. He is the number 1, a star on the making, one of the top 10 running backs possibly this year in the NFL. Then you've got Ty Montgomery behind him, who by all accounts looks great. We heard here on this very podcast, Ivan Fears saying he should be the 3rd down back. He's looking good, really good. And Andy Hart says Quadzilla, New England Patriots edition, Kevin Harris looks like he could be a big back. And you and I are both hoping for some home run power and some nice contributions from Pierre Strong. Do you think the Patriots will add to the running back room, and could they dip into the pool of veteran backs that I put into my list on .com on Monday?
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, stud starter, probably too expensive for them.
Definitely too expensive.
Ezekiel Elliott, likely to go back to the Cowboys, but only at Jerry Jones's right price. Maybe he's mad. Sports Illustrated and CBS Sports have speculated, wouldn't he make sense for the Patriots? 1 year, $5 million on a prove-it deal. Try to shove it back in Jerry's face in a Patriots uniform when the Pats go to Arlington week 4.
That would be fun.
My guy is, and this one I would love. He came last year for a free agent visit. Brady said, what the F are you doing going up there after they won a Super Bowl together? Lombardi Lenny, if he can get in shape.
Yeah.
And make, 1 year, $2.5 million. He still has nightmares about losing that AFC championship in 2018 to the Patriots as a member of the Jags. Come on in. Nice complement of pass catching between the tackles if he still has any outside speed left. I think as a camp challenger and possible veteran presence in that running back room to add to Billy O'Brien's toolbox, if he's in shape and has the heart for it, I think that would be a great addition.
Yeah, that's the one on your list that I thought was interesting. Again, great article, great list. I didn't mean to, backhand a compliment it there.
Hey, by the way, the rest of that was complete garbage, and I drove it up to the landfill in town. But otherwise, nice work, Fitz.
Yeah, but Lenny's pretty good.
You've been hanging around Andy Hart too long.
Oh, that's good. But no. Again, the one that, again, because of the visits that you talked about, I think he visited twice now on free agent visits up here. So
there's obviously there's a mutual respect and admiration. There. Right.
Yeah. So I think that would make a lot of sense. Dalvin Cook, just too expensive.
Yeah, too much.
A guy who's looking for the money that wants to cash in one last time because running backs, frankly, can't even really cash in once often. So I don't think Cook's a realistic possibility. Zeke, maybe. But Lenny's the one I would look to. But no, I think like you mentioned that we both kind of have this affinity and feeling that Pierre Strong might come in and play a quality role, not only as a potential pass catcher, 3rd down back, but a guy who, when he was at San Diego State or
North Dakota State, I believe, yeah,
was a very good downhill runner. I think he led the NCAA in yards.
He had 8 touchdown runs of 50 yards or longer. Like, this kid
Right.
has absurd speed. We saw it once last season. We saw him explode on a run around the left side for about 45 yards. Just one time, like he was most known last year for the gaffe he made on special teams in Minnesota when he ran into the kicker, gave Minnesota the ball back, and they scored the ultimate game-winning touchdown. But the kid's got speed. I
think they're just going to run it with those 4.
He's the wild card. I think he's the wild card, Mike.
Yeah.
If you think they run it with those 4?
I think they do. I think they'll probably just like what they saw with Strong enough to run it back with those 4. Especially, again, if they want to try and bring Hopkins in, they're just not going to have money to bring in anybody else. Mm-hmm. If they don't add Hopkins, then maybe they do add a camp, like you said, a camp challenger like Lenny. But no, I think ultimately they're just going to run it back with those 4. They think Montgomery's healthy. Belichick said it last week. He's as healthy. He's very healthy is what he said. And then Kevin Harris looked pretty good and Pierre Strong too. So yeah, I think they're just going to run it back with those guys.
Yeah, and if you go beyond the veterans of like the Kareem Hunts and the Dalvin Cooks and whatever else, Zeke Elliott, then you get into a list of like Kenyon Drake, old pal Rex Burkhead, who's 32 years old, J.D. McKissick. Like, it's just a bunch of like, well, there's that guy. I mean, listen, I love Rex Burkhead, but he's long since past his prime. And I don't know
Burkhead's interesting because
would he come all the way back to Pat's Nation, all the way up to New England now that he resettled back in Texas?
It's a good, maybe not. But again, if they're going to give him a paycheck, then why not, right?
Love that guy.
Someone though, like Ramondre Stevenson was battered by the end of last season. He took too many hits. He was hurt. Like he took on a lot last season when Damian Harris was hurt. I don't think they want to do that with him again. So if they don't think Pierre Strong can take some of the load off, if they don't think Kevin Harris can take some of the load off, then maybe they do bring in a Rex Burkhead to just say, hey, give us 10 carries a game. Give us 5 carries a game. Give us something that can take something off of Ramondre. That one's interesting, again, because he's been here.
Yeah, it really could come down to Ty Montgomery, Pierre Strong and Ty Montgomery. I think you kind of know what you're going to get with Kevin Harris. Like, he's pretty much a straight ahead power back. But as far as what you get from guys like Pierre Strong and Ty Montgomery, Pierre Strong, the younger version, maybe of what a Ty Montgomery might be now. Montgomery will take it between the tackles. He's great in open space with the ball in his hands, very soft hands, good, dependable third down back. We could potentially see, if he's healthy enough, the first legitimate third down back since James White was on the 2021 roster and had his season and ultimately career cut short in the third game against New Orleans. What do you say, Pats fans? Do you like the running back room as is? Do you have a veteran favorite you would like to see the Patriots add? Or who is the one right now on the roster you think will complement the room and Ramondre Stevenson best? Give us a holler at 6 Rings Pod, at FitzyGFY, and at Mike Cadlick. And because, Mike, there have been some down notes and dour tones to our podcast today because of the reality that has set in over the last week, let's end on a high note and a happy tone. There was a story that made its way. I think it kind of went viral on Monday this week. Jake Bequette, remember that old guy? I think they took him in the 3rd round, defensive end out of Arkansas. Now he's all groomed up and looking media savvy. He was on insert name of podcast that I'll gladly forget about here recently. And
Prime Time with Alex Stein.
Sure. That you could have just
Prime Time with Alex Stein. Come on.
I'm a P1 man. I'm a regular sub. I go to their live recordings. I buy the merch. I rate, review, subscribe, and share.
It's
just like
Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan Experience. Prime Time with Alex Stein. I pick and choose between
never
the
miss
two
a single one.
podcasts.
Wait, don't tell me. Smartless and Prime Time with Alex Stein. And listen to all of them. So Jake Bequette tells this story about. So basically, the Patriots players, they had key fobs and they could get in at any time. And well, I'm going to let him explain it to you. This thing tracks so perfectly as to the life of Gronk and the joy of party and the absolute animal that he was during his playing days and just in general with the Patriots. Here, take a listen.
Key fobs that gave us 24/7 access to the Patriots facility there in Foxborough. And like during the offseason, Gronk would go out all night with his boys in Boston, stay up till 3, 4 in the morning, whatever it was, and have his crew drop him off at the Patriots facility. And he would stagger into the Patriots locker room, key fob in, and go pass out on the training tables in the Patriots training room. So then an hour or two later, when the trainers would come in to start their workday, they'd come in there and see Gronk just sprawled out on the training table, just fast asleep. They would go over there. They wouldn't wake him up. They would roll up one of his sleeves, and stick an IV in his arm. Like after a couple of hours, he would just wake up like Frankenstein revived and go out there and just kick ass.
Like I said, that tracks. That is about as on brand for Rob Gronkowski as possible.
Yeah.
Coming in just chock full of Fireball, Bud Light, and insert party beverage here, laying down, falling asleep, stinking like the purple shamrock or the deep corner of the Fours bar. They come in while he's still asleep. They basically let him lay on the trainer's table.
I love that.
Pop
like
an IV in
Frankenstein,
him,
as he said. Yeah.
and then he just hops up and he gets ready to go.
I think of like when they mentioned Frankenstein, I then also think of the Undertaker gift too, where it's just like all of a sudden he's just like, okay, back to back to the
we're
field.
back, baby.
Yeah.
I had one friend hit me up, a football friend hit me up and say like, this could be bad news. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, this is kind of Mickey Mantle-esque. And I was like, hold on. Mickey Mantle's career was cut short because the guy, in addition to just being a tragically alcoholic, as talented and gifted, maybe if he was fully healthy, he would have been the greatest baseball player of all time, inarguably. And we'd be talking about him beyond Williams and Ruths and Aarons and whomever, right?
Sure.
But Willie Mays, etc. But he had a number of STDs. He had all these penicillin shots, in addition to the fact that he drank his liver broken, where he got degenerative conditions from the shots he had to take. And that ultimately the hard living he did cut his baseball career, his incredible baseball career short. I don't think Gronk broke down because of Bud Light and lemon drop shots and needing to get, chug OJ emergency liquid IV and actual restorative vitamin B shots and IVs before practices and games. Do I think maybe, he could have lived a little leaner, a little cleaner? I'm not going to argue and judge because the results were there. He didn't break his arm in 2012 when Sergio Brown chipped him on the outside on special teams because he drank too much Bud Light. Right. He couldn't, he didn't in 2013, TJ Ward's hit on his knee didn't come because Gronk buried too many high noons the night before. He's a left tackle with elite wide receiver speed and some of the greatest hands you ever saw. And he's a party animal and he's a legend and he's personality and power on field. I don't think
what Paquette says in the clip too, he said it was during the off season.
Yeah.
This was during the off season program, during whether it was OTAs, minicamp, or even it's just when they're in there in February, March, just working out.
Good point.
So it's not like he was doing that on a Thursday before a game.
No.
Paquette says off season. So
it wasn't like they went, they didn't go to Tampa in 27, whenever that was, or 2019, whatever that was, on a Thursday night game. And Gronk went out in Ybor City and was like, one day I should play here. This will be fun. Got absolutely cranked on Wednesday night, then showed up the night. No, it wasn't like that. It was an off-season thing, but it just adds to the legacy. Like they laughed about it. I choose to laugh about it and chalk that up to, the good old days of the Gronk bus, La Vida Gronk and Soying Fiesta. That's what I love, smashing and dashing, and not like, well, he probably could have, treated himself a little bit differently, been more of like his body was a temple.
Of all time. I think he did all right for himself.
I'm pretty sure he did all right for himself. And you know what? So did you, Mike Cadlick, once again filling in for Andy Hart. Great job today. This has been Six Rings and Football Things. We'll be back in a couple of days with updates on the roster, whatever else is going on in the wide world of Patriots, NFL, and so much more. Good job, producer Justin Turpin. For @FitzyGFY, your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens and Mike Cadlick, this has been Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you by WEEI, Odyssey, and 2400 Sports. Give us a rate, review, subscribe, and share. We will talk to you soon. Enjoy your week, everybody. Be well. Good day. God bless. And as always, Mike,
go Pats.